There are people out there right now who are starting businesses.
Absolutely.
We know exactly what that feels like.
You're right in front of them, so it's like having a billboard that you're actually putting right in front of somebody's face.
When you're considering adding corporate apparel to your brand, these are some things that you should consider.
A lot of website companies, they build it and then they have the ownership of it, and then you don't. You want to own your website.
Hey guys, welcome to the Marketing Compass podcast, where we help navigate you through the ever-changing world of marketing and advertising. I'm here with Drew Sigler today. Really excited about this podcast. We're gonna have a deep dive into marketing budgets.
Yep.
Right. I think we sit down with customers every single day and talk about those budgets, because in marketing it's super important that we have those budgets in mind and goals in mind and make sure we're striving towards a common goal. Just came to mind as a great topic for us to discuss and talk about. Drew recently graduated from Grace College and studied some more of this finance and business administration side of things. So I thought Drew would just be a great guest for us. But these are some things we talk about with our customers all the time.
Yep.
And just thought it'd be just a great conversation for you guys to be able to use in your own businesses, whether you're using us or not. These are some really important topics to consider when you're working on any kind of marketing. You just budgeting in general. When you're running a business, you need to have a budget and a plan and a strategy for what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think this has come up in a lot of recent companies that we've tried to take on, that they kind of have no idea what kind of marketing budget they should even be looking at. In terms of numbers and stuff. So I think this is a good start. To kind of introduce marketing budgets as a whole.
We just kind of want to paint a picture here a little bit. We're going to give some suggestions on what we see other businesses do for setting up their own budgets, and maybe give you some ballpark ideas and understanding of where you should be in your company, and then just setting some expectations for you guys. To help you understand what to expect with your marketing budget, how strict to be on that marketing budget, what all's included in a marketing budget typically. But then again, this is different for every business. These are just going to be some guidelines for you to kind of follow and to help you down that process. But we really want to make sure our customers are set up for success at the very beginning. So we have these conversations, and we continually bring them up and measure against them as we're going through our monthly reports. So
exactly.
So I think it's a great place to start, Drew, is just really to understand the role of a marketing budget. I've even heard recently as this week with businesses, they just don't understand why they actually need to have a budget if in their marketing plan or marketing strategy they only have one thing that they're working on, or a couple of things that they're working on. So they don't feel the need to actually write it down and write it out and that kind of thing. But what would you say would be a really good role of that budget? What are some positive factors there you need to consider?
Well, I think the first area that people kind of need to wrap their head around is marketing should not be looked at as an expense. I feel like a lot of companies that come in, they just want to know what number, like how much they're going to have to pay to get their brand out there, get more leads, whatever. It should be not looked at as an expense. It should be looked at as an investment. And really that's what it is. If you want to grow, you have to invest. And so I think that's the number one thing that I see when people come in. It's like, how much I got to spend? Well, you got to spend money to make money, first of all, and it should not be looked at as an expense.
Well, I think that comes as a fear that has come over time of maybe folks that have taken advantage of them, or or marketing campaigns that hasn't worked out, or things like that. So, and I think they're coming in at it from a fair angle, understanding that, and it's something that builds over time too with a relationship. Sometimes it's just that you're just not comfortable sharing that right away in the conversation, and that's totally fine. But really, that question, when we ask that hard question. What kind of budget do you have that you're working with? What do you want to get accomplished? It's really
It scares
helping
people
understand. Right.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
But it's really there to kind of help understand where they're at, what they're trying to get accomplished.
Yeah.
So we're recommending the right things.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
I've had it happen before. I work in actually a lot. It happens a lot.
Yeah.
But I work in digital marketing most of the time, right? And as you do too. And we recently had just a few days ago, we had a customer call in and ask for a very specific type of digital marketing.
Yeah.
They're probably talking with another marketing company the way they asked for it. They wanted device ID targeting, geographic targeting.
Yeah.
So that's not typically a type of marketing that we just generally talk
It's not
about.
a very entry level marketing.
Right. So the fact that they're asking that tells me they're probably talking with some other people.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely totally fine. So I asked him about his budget, and he goes, I don't really have a budget. I just need to know how much it's going to cost.
Yeah.
Digital marketing, one of the dozens of great things about it is that it really is something that can be affordable for anyone, but it does matter where your budget is at and what you're trying to get accomplished. This is why we ask those questions there. So after asking a few more questions to really understand, what he's looking for, he was really looking for something more like search. He really wanted lead generation, whereas display marketing is more of a branding type strategy. So if I wouldn't have kind of dug into the details a little bit more to really understand not only his budget, but his budget's defined by his goals, right? If we weren't able to dig in and ask those questions like that, we may have started on the wrong product.
Yeah.
And then kind of set up expectations at the beginning incorrectly, and then failing.
And I think that's what scares a lot of companies is that they've tried either to do it on their own or they've tried to do a different company, and the return on investment, they didn't have a return on investment.
Yeah.
And so they don't even know what they're coming in and wanting in the first place.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think recommendations, people should take those into consideration.
Absolutely. I mean, that's how we really like to work here at Blue River is through recommendations. It's kind of a little bit of a challenge when it comes to really answering directly our customers' questions when it comes to how much does this cost or how much does this cost, because it is very flexible. Everything that we put together for our customers it's very custom.
Yeah,
right.
It's very custom.
So it really depends on what your goals are, what you're trying to get accomplished, how where your how large your target area is, and just keeping all those figures and pieces in line really changes what we have there. But what we're going to recommend. So I like offering two different things. I like offering what we recommend, and then offer a comparison to something similar that they're already doing. Right. So it answers that question, and then it goes back to really the heart of the matter and what it is you're trying to accomplish, because it needs to align with the overall goal. Right. So. And we'll kind of get into this next a little bit, but it really has to do with what stage of business that you're in and what you're trying to do in your business, because there's typically just for simplicity here, I'd say we probably have three different phases of a business life cycle. You've got businesses that are just super busy that they really just need to maintain, and maybe they've been around for a while and they've got a full workload, but they want to make sure that they're sponsoring their little league teams and they're giving back to their local nonprofits.
They're getting their brand
and stuff
out
like
there.
that. They're getting the brand out there, right? Yeah. So they're involved in community events and things, maybe a little bit of maybe a basketball team sponsorship on the radio and things like that. Those are these companies that are kind of set, and their marketing budgets are typically smaller. And you've got some in the middle that they may have a little bit of room left on their schedule, but they're busy, they're successful, they're doing a lot of great things. But they need to stay front and center, top of mind. They need to stay busy. They need to make sure that the calls are going to continue to come in down the road, because we all know that everyone's not in the market for your product all the time.
It's very
So
seasonal.
there's seasonality to it for sure.
Yeah.
And then you've got folks that have the larger budgets that are looking to gain market share and really wanting to grow. They may be busy. They may not be busy.
Yeah.
They may be part of the reason why they want to gain market share and get more work. Maybe they're expanding into new markets and things like that. So really, it kind of fits into those three areas. But we need to know what those goals are going in, and how they align with your budget to understand what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
We don't want to recommend the wrong product. So when it leads to another point that you and I were talking about earlier, just the importance of our monthly reporting that we do. Right.
I think reporting is, our reporting specifically is a very vital part of how we project growth and how we work on our campaigns to make sure they are more effective. Whether you're wanting clicks or views or engagement, reporting at the end of every single month helps drastically change whatever campaigns need to be changed in order for it to be better and more effective.
So not only are we able to really work with just about any size of budget with digital marketing, but when we're looking at digital marketing specifically, and I want to get a little broader after this, but and look at all the different types of marketing, which we'll probably get into after the break. But when you're looking at digital marketing specifically, and we're looking at monthly reporting, it's made to where you can adapt. So if you're doing digital marketing and you're with a company that you're not talking with regularly and you're not looking at your goals and looking at results and adapting, you need to ask them to do that because it is made for that. You can turn campaigns off. I mean, there's some benefit to running campaigns longer because there is some, especially when you're using like Google search, for example, the algorithms are set to learn over time of what type of users are clicking and converting based on your conversion goals and Google Analytics. So there's definitely a factor in that. But if you're working on it month over month and you're seeing consistent results, not leading up to what you want them to be based on your goals, you're not converting the way you need to, then you need to pivot, right? And look at some other options. Digital marketing is growing every single day, and there's so many more options that are out there. So just because you set a budget doesn't mean you can't change how you allocate that budget over time. So when you're having those monthly conversations and looking at goals, sales goals, what's really happening in the end. It's another thing with our monthly reporting. It's important. Like for us, we could see that, hey, you had, just an example, you had 3,000 website visits this month from your paid search ad. And to us, we look at that. You have good click-through rate. Your cost per click is low. Everything's looking great. To us, that looks like a success. What's happening on your end? That's why this reporting opportunity is really important because, it may look great for us,
but it may not be converting.
It may not be converting into real sales for you, right? So we need to have that conversation and have that open dialogue around those points, making sure that what we're doing isn't only leading to great numbers, but it's also leading to sales affecting your bottom line. Going clear back to your first point, why it can't be a bill. It needs to be an investment. So what are we doing intentionally this month? What are we doing right now to make changes to make this campaign perform?
There needs to be a state of constant communication between us or your marketing company and the business itself. Or you will not see a great ROI.
Right. You just don't know. Data gives you all the power in the world, right?
Especially for digital marketing.
When you're making decisions, you need to know that data to be able to pivot and make an accurate, educated choice, right? Right. So I really wanted to help those out there because we do run into it an awful lot, especially for startups, just to help them understand just some good ballparks on where common marketing budgets fall, right? So where would you see that? What would you recommend
Well, I think a great starting point, if you want to maintain how you're doing, maybe see a little bit of growth, is 3 to 5% of your gross revenue. That's kind of the sweet spot for, hey, I want to stay busy. That keeps you busy. Anything over 5%, that means you want to grow. So that's when we see a little bit. That's when we see higher budgets and we see more reach. We see more. We gain more market share.
Yeah.
You're not just staying where you are, but I think a great start is anywhere from 3 to 5%. Anything below that, I mean, what would you say?
Yeah, that's typically for those. I think that matches up really well with the example I gave earlier. You've got folks that are just super busy, just want to stay relevant in the community. Maybe they're not looking to add a whole lot of extra work, but they want to make sure they're visible.
Yeah.
That's the 1 to 3% area, and these are just guidelines. It's different for every business on where they're at, but this should hopefully help. When sitting in our meetings with our customers, we've shared this information with these startup companies, and it's not even startup companies, it's just others that they're busy, they're doing what they do. They're fully invested, they're contractors, they're real estate agents, they're busy doing what they do well, and you just don't have a chance to really think about this kind of stuff. But it just really helps you organize and stay on task and make sure you're within projections, and following those goals and reaching after those. So if you're maybe you're spending 1%, but you feel like, man, I am in growth mode and I need that.
I need more market share.
Yeah. So I mean, those are some great guidelines, I think, that you have, but those are also the conversations you need to be having with your marketing company, telling them that.
Exactly.
So my marketing budget aligns more closely with the 1%, but I want to be growing, but I just don't have the ability to do that right now.
Do a 3 to 5%.
Yeah. And that may bring to light some other issues that we can help with, right? Because we're far more than a digital marketing company. We're far more than an apparel company, far more than a signage company. We're a partner, and we want to come alongside you and help you.
And again, it's not a bill. It's an investment.
Exactly.
So if you're only spending 1%, and that's like all you can afford to spend. I mean, you got to look at it. It's an investment. It's long term. It should be long term.
Yeah.
This isn't like a one-off type thing.
That's a good point too. Yeah. When you're considering your marketing budget as a long-term plan, a strategy, it's not just a one-time purchase. It's what you're planning on doing for the year, and then we allocate those funds to fit best to reach your goals, right? But I think it's also just important to look at, okay, if I can really only afford 1%, but I really need to grow, and I'm really struggling finding capacity and extra room in my budget to be able to market, then we'll probably have some issues with expenses.
Yeah.
And we can
help with that as well.
It's not we're not business coaches. We're not gonna say you need to do this and then you're gonna hit here. We can just help you. We'll ask you those questions.
We want you to be more efficient as a whole company.
Bingo.
We're not just a marketing company. We want to look for areas for you to be more efficient and save money so that you can allocate funds where it's needed.
Where it's needed, that it's actually gonna affect growth and change.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
So
I think there's a lot more here. I mean, obviously, I want to get into some details about what's included in a marketing budget, and I think some people look at marketing budgets a lot differently than the way I do.
Yep.
I like having all my cards out and knowing what my year is going to be ahead of time. And you may categorize some of these expenses. I say expenses, as how they're listed in the ledger, but investments. You may categorize these a little bit differently than what we're going to talk about. But I just think it's important to lay all it out there. What are you doing with your logo on it, forward facing, that's going to affect your goals, and where does that align? So I think before we get into that, let's just take a short break. We'll have our project spotlight moment here, which I really am enjoying these moments, where we've been looking back at some recent projects and just sharing those details with you. So take a look at this short video, and we'll be back shortly to cover more marketing budgeting.
Hey guys, Nick here at Blue River Digital. I'm on site here at the Warsaw location of Moore Farm Stores. These guys are amazing. These are the kind of the truest example of a partner as we could describe. So they're just a lot of fun to work with. We serve them with all 9 of our departments, everything from digital marketing all the way through to corporate apparel and promotional items and event booth space and things like that. Signage, as you see here on the building here, we did all the window graphics and the channel lettering and the digital signage and things like that. So there's just been a wonderful relationship over the last 10 years partnering with Moore Farm Stores. And I tell you, the reason why it's been so successful is because of the collaboration that we've been able to have. It's just been truly amazing. So we meet at least on a monthly basis. Sometimes we're over here more often than that. And we just talk about everything that's going on. We want to understand that our marketing efforts and how it's affecting their bottom line. So we have just open dialogue, great communication, understanding what's actually selling, what isn't, what on the lot needs help and some attention. Areas that we could target for growth and everything like that. So it's just been a lot of fun. They've even brought us along some really great conversations with their manufacturers and provided opportunities for us there. So we just want to thank Moore Farm Stores, Andy and Shane and Chris and all the guys that are there. It's just been a lot of fun to work with you guys, and we're really excited what the future is going to bring.
Hey, welcome back to the Marketing Compass podcast. We're going to pick back up here for the second segment of our discussion over marketing budgets. And we've already covered a lot about, just kind of baselines and where, if you're trying to decide where to be on your marketing budget, to kind of help give you some guidelines there. We also talked a little bit just about the importance of a marketing budget and why marketing companies like us ask those hard questions. And hopefully, if you've worked with us, we've helped you feel comfortable and understanding why we ask those questions and why we want to dig in a little bit deeper to try to help you stay on your budget and to reach your goals. But I kind of want to start this next segment here, Drew, with just talking about what all is included in your marketing budget. And like I mentioned before the break, I think I probably myself throw some things in there that other people might not consider in their marketing budgets, and be maybe under some other pieces. Where do you typically advise on there when you're talking with our customers? Where do you typically advise, like when they're building out those budgets, like what type of things are listed within there?
I think first of all, it's important to get your logo on things. Whether that's vehicles or apparel or signage. I think it's very important for brand awareness, especially if you're starting out. You need to get your brand out there, which means you got to put your logo on everything. It's got to be facing out for everyone to see. And then campaign based, I would say Google is very good, and I would say social media is very good, and that falls more in the realm of digital marketing. But that's where I would say to start. If you were starting out, you have a 3 to 5% budget, and you need to get your brand out there. I would say you got to get your logo on everything.
So this is same thing I recommend. I mean, basically anything with a logo on it. So what that does, it kind of gets us into some strange categories, though. So I mean, I think most of the time when we think marketing budget, we think about the things we spend our money on to ask people for business, and you're doing that all the time with a polo like this, or apparel items or signage and things like that. You're just not really thinking of it maybe that way. Or sponsorships. I include sponsorships in that because it is something that you're going to be paying out for. You want some type of return on that. You may be doing it out of goodwill, but everything that you're doing, you want to try to do strategically, and there's a reason why you want.
It's important to allocate. It's important to allocate that parts of your budget to unexpected or to broader things.
Because what we don't want to happen, and we're going to talk about this, I think now's probably a great time to talk about it anyways. It's important to understand how rigid or soft you need to be on that marketing budget, right? And other people, lots of people have different opinions on this, but I think that marketing budget really is a soft cap on to where you should be. So in quarter four is typically when we do our budgeting. In quarter four, we're looking ahead to the next year. We're understanding our goals and projections based off of
the previous year. And we would say, okay, what do we need to do to reach those goals? What kind of investment do we need to make to reach those growth goals? So when you're keeping those kind of things in mind and you're planning back in November, when you're making those decisions on how you allocate, you really need to consider everything that might come up. Wait, like the sponsorships, and then
Exactly.
anything with a logo on it. I say, you don't think of business cards as something that that falls under your marketing budget typically, because it's you're not spending money on a radio ad or a television ad or a billboard, but it is a marketing expense.
Business, or it's a marketing tool. I would
It's
say.
a tool,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So I include that in that number. So you're just planning ahead for the year. So you're looking at, okay, well, I've got 5 team members, and 2 of them use business cards on a regular basis. We typically order a set of business cards once a year for them, so we need to make sure that we allocate for that. We have 5 team members, so they wear team gear, branded team gear, so we need to make sure we allocate for that. We have a little league team that we always sponsor, so we need to make sure we allocate for that. So at the end of the day, when you look at your budgeting and everything that you're doing, you're not drastically over that number.
And I think it's also important to allocate for the challenges, because when you're starting out, you don't
Give
know
yourself a little-
what's going to stick when it comes to marketing. So how's your audience going to perceive what is your audience going to perceive the best? So it's important to give a little leeway in the budget for those challenges to figure out, hey, this is working the best, but it's going to take a little bit of budget to figure that out. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So when I say soft cap, right? I said soft
Exactly.
cap earlier. That's what I mean, because a budget is a set of guidelines. You want to follow it fairly strictly because you don't want it to mess up the rest of your planning and everything else that you have going on. But unless things change in the market or something flops, the marketing strategy doesn't work the way you expected it to, and you need to pivot and that kind of thing, or maybe a competitor goes out of business and there's an opportunity to take market share. Those kind of considerations come into play there. So you may be coasting just fine, and your marketing is working, and you're hitting your goals where you want to be, but then all of a sudden you're presented with an opportunity. And do you have the wiggle room and the ability to do that and make an investment, like you mentioned before, make an investment in your marketing strategy to grow in that time? And then the same goes the other way around. Is there an illness with a key team member that is going to affect your ability to serve your customers? Because you definitely don't want too much work and you're not able to serve your customers the way you need to,
serve
right?
customers well.
So that's why, just because you have a budget, say you have a budget of $10,000 a year, and that doesn't mean you have to spend exactly $10,000.
Yeah.
And now it doesn't mean that you have to spend $15,000, but it also doesn't mean you just spend $5. It just means this is what based on our projections, this is what we're shooting for. This is the allocations that we want to make, the type of marketing that we want to do, and our job is to then take those numbers, the goals, the budget.
Make them as effective as possible.
Make them as effective as possible. So we optimize that, and then we're to be good shepherds of your budget. Right?
And that goes into the reporting aspect of everything. We can maximize your budget when we know what works for your company.
Right.
So,
yeah. It's just always adjusting and moving to what's working and testing and just making sure that everything's effective.
keeping your budget on track.
Yeah. So, well, we've already talked about this a lot, but just staying track on our budget and just the importance of those monthly reports on what they do for you. And I think really just more than anything is it just helps keep us all on the same page and what we're trying to get accomplished. I'm a big believer of what gets attention gets your results, right? So if you're discussing these things on a regular basis, then you're going to be aware of these things when you're going about your day. If earlier we talked about, if you're having a hard time allocating any budget for marketing and just trying to find where that extra money is going to come because it's really tight, maybe you have an issue with some extra expenses that you need to figure out how to lower and decrease that overhead. If we're talking about that stuff every single month, then you're going to be more conscious of that, and you're going to be seeing like, hey, I really, we need to make sure that we don't overspend on this when we really only need this much. I think of a cost of goods and things like that. Sometimes and you have a range of you overbuy for damaged goods or things like that, but maybe you need to cut that back a little bit. But if you're having the conversations, then you're staying on track.
Yeah, exactly.
Every single month.
You're constantly in the know.
Yeah.
And I think, especially now, prices are changing like crazy for everything.
Bingo. You're
It
exactly
doesn't
right.
like digital and actual feasible goods. It's all changing constantly. So I think being in constant communication, business to business, is very good. So
Yeah. Right. And it allows you to adjust mid cycle,
we're not waiting till the end of the year to adjust all of these budgets.
Exactly.
Yeah, if it's on a monthly basis, you're going to be able to maximize your money.
Yeah. We see it all the time, and it's sad, but and really it's just people are busy, and you need to make this a priority in what you're doing, but in measuring your results and staying on track. On a high frequency, at least every month, because we'll see campaigns just get started. I hear this a lot. We'll start a campaign, we don't hear back from the sales rep until it's ready to renew in the end of the year, and we haven't talked all year long. And then all of a sudden it looks like, well, it didn't work. It probably didn't, but it may have worked. We're just not looking at the right areas to understand that it's working. And if you're not having those conversations on a regular basis, you just don't have the information to know.
Right. And the company should be educating you on what things you need to look out for as well.
Absolutely.
That's
Changes
extremely
in the market and
important.
everything.
Yeah. So, it's a deadly combo when it works. I think.
And when it doesn't work.
And when it doesn't work,
when you're not doing it, then it's really deadly too. Right?
Yeah.
So ROI, return on investment. That's where we're going to end today's conversation, and it really needs to be the most important thing that you're thinking about when you're setting up your campaigns,
your budgets.
That
needs to be in your mind.
Exactly. And I think it really does come down to communication. You need to have a marketing partner that you trust, that you can have open dialogue and communicate with on a regular basis, and ones that they know your product, and that they know the products that they're using. Right. And just being honest about things. Some of our most successful customers that we have, I could think of a dozen of them right now, that we just have such great dialogue when we have our monthly conversations. They come to the table prepared and ready, and it didn't happen overnight. This for the last 10 years we've been working with this person and these different customers, and we've been working with this one person for the last 10 years, and they trust us, we trust them. They come to us with everything. Here's what we sold last month, here's where we're projected, here's where we excelled, here's where we failed, here's where we need to work on for next month, here's some internal struggles that we're having in this area. And with that information, we've got so much ability to be flexible and to really move where we need to. But unless we have the information, we really can't. We just kind of have to stay the course and just do what deliver the product that was purchased, right? So if that dialogue can be developed with your marketing company, it will completely change the way you do marketing. Completely change.
Exactly. Yeah. If you're in constant know of the company, and sometimes it is, you don't want to overstep your bounds, but it's very important for a marketing company to know where you are at financially, in order to help you, I think, as a whole. I think communication is key, whether that's a weekly meeting or a monthly meeting. But so it's a good point.
Yeah, and your marketing company should be flexible and willing to do that for you. And keep this in mind too, because this kind of reporting work that's done does take time.
Takes a lot of time
for both for you and for the marketing company. So if you have, and we'll just throw this example out there. just if if you have a $100 marketing budget,
Yeah.
and you're asking your marketing company to have a weekly meeting with you, they're probably not going to
be worth the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because two things are happening. One, you're probably not investing enough
Yeah.
into the campaign to really see results that can affect any kind of change. And then secondly, you just need to remember the time investment that it takes to prepare the reporting and to sit down and have that conversation and
Run the
and buy-in
campaigns.
and everything
Yeah.
like that. So there's some automated reporting things that can be done. If you need that, you can set up your Google Analytics account and sign up for notifications whenever you want them,
Yeah.
and you can get an email notification right to your account for free, just part of your Google Analytics account.
Yeah, exactly.
Now it's not going to be super detailed
Yeah.
in Google Analytics. Even for someone like me that's been using it for such a long time, it's still confusing sometimes. There's just so many moving pieces.
And for someone who's new,
changes all the time.
it could be very confusing.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't know how to read metrics off the bat. They don't know what's good, what's good for the industry, what's bad. So
What causes one thing to happen, what
Yeah.
affects something else, and so there's a lot of factors in there. But just remember that when you're asking for these meetings, I don't want to set unrealistic expectations out there, but your marketing company should be willing to have a conversation with you about that and set up some reasonable interval of reporting. We do it every month, and then we provide numbers after event campaigns like auctions and festivals and things like that will provide that happen.
social
not on a
media
monthly basis.
campaigns, stuff like
Right.
that.
Yeah. One thing that came to mind here as we just close up on some of our closing thoughts and things like that for budgeting. Had a great conversation earlier today about search engine optimization, SEO. SEO is probably one of the hardest services to, one, explain actually what happens because it's such a broad topic.
Yeah.
And then two, to see immediate returns.
Return.
Immediate results, right? So first thing, explaining what it is. Since it's such a broad topic, basically search engine optimization happens in two different areas. It happens in on-site and off-site optimization of your website. So on-site are things like your meta tags and your title tags and your keyword-rich text that's in your content of your website. How fast your site loads on the different devices. There's just tons of things that affect that backlinks and so on. Your domain authority and just there's lots of different things. So that's your on-site. Your off-site are things like your listings on your different providers, your data aggregators, making sure they have your information there, your reputation, so your number of reviews and how frequently you're getting reviews and how quickly you're responding to reviews. All those different things is under SEO, right? But I was chatting with a gentleman earlier today about SEO, and it really gave us some really staggering results about a comparison that was made on click-through rates on a search engine results page. It's called a SERP, SERP, search engine results page. So that's when you go to Google and you type in the search phrase marketing company near me, right? The first three things that come up are typically an ad. These are ads, and you see the little ads icon there, right? These are paid ads. Typically, the best ads are somewhere around 2.1% is the best ones, and then the position number 2, position number 3 gets a little bit less. Then position number 1 under organic gets a staggering 38, almost 39% click-through rate on that first position under organic ranking on your search engine results page. You have to go clear down to number 9 to get 2.1%, which is the first ranking for the paid search, right? So it's a really tough product to understand when a marketing company like us would recommend SEO. Because it is a long-term strategy, right? You're putting all these things into place to answer the questions that Google is looking for to make sure that your page shows up when you're searched for. And Google's a business. I don't think anyone would disagree with me that Google wants our money, right? They want your ad spend, but if you're doing a search campaign, a PPC campaign, and you're paying them, as soon as you stop paying them, your ad goes away. You're not showing up anymore, right?
Yeah.
So the long-term strategy you should have in your strategy, in your budgeting, a plan for SEO.
Yeah.
For SEO. It long term, it's going to last. It's going to last.
Yeah.
It takes monthly work on it, but it will last, and it will drive better results than a lead generation campaign with PPC.
And I think in the long term, you'll end up spending less money on
Right.
Google
Yeah.
for paid stuff because
Right.
you're getting so much good
Right.
traction organically. And yeah, it will take time, but
Right.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
SEO. I think is a very vital part of digital marketing as a whole. I think that's maybe the number one kind of launch into digital marketing.
It is. It's and in fact it's one of those things, because it's so hard for folks to get their head around. Like, I'm spending money on this, I want to have some immediate results.
Yeah.
So that's a challenge, but it is from many experts that I've talked to, like, it is the first thing that they go with. Is, after you get your website in place, SEO is the first thing you start with, and then you go into lead generation or branding strategies and things like that. But just something to really some really
About
a really good conversation that I had this morning that made me think about our conversation today. And it's a hard thing to think about and to budget for, because, like I said, you've worked hard for this marketing budget. You've worked hard for this money, and now you're going to spend it in an effort to get a return. And it cannot be a bill. It has to be an investment.
Yep.
We're going to help. Your marketing company is going to help make sure that happens, right? But you're not going to see the immediate results out of SEO.
yeah.
But long term,
It's
the stats prove it out,
And it will-
It's drastic difference.
It's a machine. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, this is a great conversation, Drew.
Yeah.
I've really appreciated your mind behind the topic, and I hope you all appreciated the insight that we were able to provide. Hopefully, you took something away from it, and you're able to provide it, utilize it in your own. In your own marketing strategies and putting together your own budgets. And I think we'll probably do this again in fourth quarter.
Yeah.
As people are kind of, thinking about that for 2025 then at that point,
Maybe
right?
planning ahead.
Yeah, planning ahead and making sure that you have all your all the data that you need to be able to start planning ahead, planning for the next year, right? So
Yep.
Again, we really, truly appreciate you all tuning in to our podcast here. Obviously, you're able to find it on all the great marketing or podcast platforms out there, including our website. We have a page under About Us and our blog page there, where you can see all the old blogs, the old podcasts that we've done. And then you can also fill out a form there and give us advice on what you'd like us to talk about. Say, hey, Nick, you were off your rocker, and there's no way sponsorship should be considered marketing. That's okay. Send us those. I'll just have Ryan respond instead. But we really appreciate you guys. If you wouldn't mind, like and share and subscribe on the platform that you're listening on. And until next time, have a great one.